Last time on Nightbane, the rebels were still around, I guess. They were hiding out in the secret tunnels under Lightlark that, much like the character Enya, have totally always been there. Isla went to Star Isle, where they told her she was basically God, and she learned that the Starlings have the most tragic backstories ever. In the past, Isla teleported back to Grimm's palace and found his completely modern bathroom. For some reason, Isla challenged Grimm to a duel, and Grimm won, even though there was quicksand. Isla and Oro's romance finally kicked off, but I felt nothing. Isla decided to celebrate a wildling holiday but didn't invite a single wildling, and at Isla's culturally insensitive party, Grimm sent an illusion warning them that he's coming to kill everyone in a month. Isla went to see Cleo to diplomatically yell at her for a while, but Cleo showed up later to share her tragic backstory, then bunkered off with her entire people to join Grimm. Finally, Isla went to visit the Oracle to be assured that she is super important and her memories are the key to everything.
Alright, let's get some more pages of this read then, shall we? I now have tea and these things. I don't know if you've ever had these things, but they're really good with tea. Imported from the Netherlands. This is what they look like. Anyway, let's go. Longish chapter. Filled with memories. We're in the before times again. Oh, we finally remember Celeste, who she mentions that she's been meeting with in secret here in this memory. She's at the market on a mission to try to find those weird human skin gloves. I feel like maybe that's a plot point from book 1 that we should have, tried to pretend didn't exist in book 2, like several of the other plot points. So she goes to the night market, which because of the curses is being held during the daytime. And I feel like that really robs the night market of a lot of its mystique. Like, I'm sorry, you can't convince me that it's all cool and creepy and clandestine in the middle of the fucking broad daylight. Oh, we've added another detail to these fucking gloves. What? Alex, this thing with the gloves. This is like the pig challenge. This is so ridiculous. Not only do they need gloves made out of human skin, but the skin had to be taken off of the person while the person was still alive. Why? Alex asked her. What the fuck is with these gloves? It's like Alex had this one creepy idea that escaped from a horror book that she's never gonna write, and she decided to go and put it fully into this book with every ridiculous, disgusting detail for some reason. I guess these gloves were just commonplace for a while, because she asks a merchant and he's like, oh yeah, we used to have a lot of these weird human skin gloves that can only be attained while the person is alive. She goes to Grimm's castle again, because she thinks that the skin gloves might be there. Her leaps in logic are pretty par for the course for Isla, let's be honest. And she, looks around and doesn't see him, so she's like, okay, he's not here. But the man can be invisible, so I'm gonna assume she doesn't know that yet. That's the only thing that makes sense. Oh, she had to go to the castle because she hasn't mastered her star stick well enough to teleport to where she wants to go. She can only go to places she's been, and since she went to his castle already by accident, she can go places by accident or places she's been. She had to go back to his castle, and then she fucking just leaves his castle to go to the market where the skin might be. Of course, the Nightshade people wear skimpy clothing and leather and honestly, with the way that Grimm is kind of always wearing his armor, I thought that maybe the Nightshade people would kind of always be overdressed, lots of layers, lots of ornamentation. That's the direction I would have thought to go with them instead of they're wearing tight leather and very little of it. Oh, we got a title drop. One of the people in this quote-unquote night market, which, again, I remind you, is happening in the broad daylight. This person is selling Nightbane, which takes away all your troubles and pain. So, drugs.
Zydrate comes in a little glass vial.
A little glass vial? A little glass vial.
She passed by the woman selling the Nightbane, at least for now. I'm going to assume it becomes an important plot point because the whole book is named after it. But she passes up that and she goes into the skin store there's a skin store. Okay. Honey, could you step down to the skin store? I'm out of human skin and I need some for gloves. Unfortunately, the skin store is all out of skin gloves, and she decides that she doesn't want to ask them to make her any because she's not sure if their skin will be ethically sourced. Legitimately. She's like, well, how will I know if they've gotten the skin from, like, a bad person? Alex asked her. If I ever meet Alex Astor, I am going to look her in her face and be like, what the hell was the skin gloves thing? Like, where did that come from? What put that weird little shit in your tiny brain, Alex? Like, what? I cannot get over it. This is the new pig challenge. Nothing will ever replace the pig challenge, to be clear, but like, the skin gloves are turning out to be like a core memory here at this point. Of all the things to double down on in book 2, the weird human skin gloves. But as she's, you know, still kind of looking around the skin store, she gets grabbed by some old wrinkly guy and pulled out into an alley. Apparently the old wrinkly guy is here to harvest her hair. He's like, yeah, wildling hair. Super good for, I don't know. At this point, just be glad he's not here for your skin. And once more, if you're tempted to picture all of this happening, because he pulls her into an alley, if you're tempted to picture all of this happening in like a darkened alley, creepy man trying to steal her hair, it is broad ass daylight. But before the creepy guy can take her hair, she stabs him. At that exact moment, a couple of guards walk by, cops basically, and it looks like they're not even gonna react, but then she runs, and so they give chase. Kind of like if you run from a dog who might not have approached you otherwise. So she's going full Aladdin, and she's running through the marketplace from these guards, looking for a place where she can set up her portal. Apparently the guards that were chasing her have friends now, and like a whole shit ton of guards are chasing her for some reason. She spills a cauldron full of boiling blood in their way. It's very like action movie character running through a bazaar, jumping, dodging, knocking things over as the cops pursue him. I even picture it with a lot of shaky cam. Because of the choppy way that this is written, it's like the book equivalent of shaky cam. She finally finds somewhere to make her portal, and she does, but then she gets distracted and the portal goes away, and I guess that's a thing that can happen. And who should be standing in front of her but Grim? Took him long enough to get here. I assumed he would be the one who found her stabbing an old guy in an alley. The guards catch up and nab her, and she's taken to the cells. We have a time cut to her in the cell. It has been hours, and she's chained to the ceiling, and her arms are sore, but I'm like, nah. Isn't this one of those times where you would totally say that you can handle this? Because remember how your mentors trained you by having you hang from a tree branch for like 3 days until your arms dislocated, and that made you super strong? Has that not happened yet? I feel like it probably has. So she should be like just doing pull-ups on these chains. Like, yeah, no problem. I hang from things all the time.
One thing I definitely noticed in this book versus the first book is, especially in these memory scenes, Isla has to be like weakened down so that Grim can always be the physically superior one. Because in the first book, it was always like, oh, she meets this situation, but don't worry, she's trained for this. For every situation she encounters, including a lot of physical combat and strength-based things and endurance-based things. Don't worry, she's trained for this. But when she's dealing with Grim in these memory scenes, she has trained for nothing. She's just a weak little girl that he has to, like, defend 90% of the time. So Alex Astor definitely wants to have her cake and eat it too with this character.
Also, apparently, they took all of her clothes, so she's hanging naked in the cell. I guess. He asks what she's doing on Nightshade, and I'm like, buddy, you would not believe me if I told you. Oh, we are setting up for a character uses another character's name type of scenario, because he keeps calling her Heart Eater, and she's like, my name is Isla, and he legitimately says, I will never call you that, which is not how people talk, but we have to set that up, that he's never going to call her that, so that later when he's like, Isla, in a tense moment, she's like, he called me my name. Grim says, I believe we might be looking for the same thing, and she says, you're looking for skin gloves, and he's like, what? Which is a fair reaction. He says, no, You're looking for a way to survive the centennial. He's over here like, fucking what? Skin? No, I am not seeking that, actually. Oh, but of course, Grimm is indeed seeking a MacGuffin item. His is just different. He's looking for a sword. So he says, if you can fetch quest me this sword, I will be your ally at the Centennial. So obviously she agrees, and the chapter ends with, that was how she made a deal with the demon. I'm just so entertained that we have doubled down on the glove thing. Ooh, this next chapter is really quite long for this book. This is more than like 4 pages, which for this book is a lot. All right, I'm probably gonna be done reading for today. Not because I necessarily want to be, but because I have too much stuff to do, but we're already making pretty good headway through this book, so hopefully I will be able to start posting these basically right away after I finish posting Fourth Wing. Fingers on your human skin gloves crossed. I'll see you for the next chapter. All right, welcome back. If you hear noises in the background, Adam is in the kitchen directly behind us making lunch. So that's what's going on. I'm trying to read this at top speed because today is the day that the last episode of Fourth Wing goes up. So I need to get on this. The next chapter is called Revelations. Oh, I think I have a bingo square, by the way. Hang on. Where is it? More MacGuffins, more random MacGuffins is the bingo square because now they have to find the sword. Like, this chapter starts out with Isla telling Oro about her dream and the sword that Grimm wanted her to find. So we have a MacGuffin, everyone. And once again, we have fallen back on our old standby, searching random libraries. So Oro is like, we must know what this sword is. And his solution is to just have a bunch of his people go to the library. But of course, Isla knew the answers would not be found in books, but in her own mind. Oh, well then, why not tell them to fucking stop searching then? Also, we have not gone back to the Oracle yet. We have like 3 paragraphs where she tells Oro about the sword and he has people researching it. And then we time jump to her on Wild Isle, or at least talking with somebody from there. What about the Oracle? She was specifically told the Oracle had a message special for her and she's not interested in it? Okay. So here's one thing that I do not understand. So Isla is talking with her people about whether they're going to join in the definitely oncoming war. 100% war is coming, you guys. And she believes that Cleo has gone to join Grimm's side, but we keep being reminded that if Lightlark falls, everybody falls. So, like, what is Grimm's plan? Is it just to take over Lightlark and take Oro's place? Is that even possible? Is he just going to keep Oro imprisoned so he doesn't die and then rule? Like, we know that Grimm is coming and he plans to do a coup or a war of some kind, but why? What on earth does that serve him?
Now, as a Julian in the future, I do know the stupid reasons that Grimm is coming. Eventually we find out. However, we never find out why nobody else asked these questions. Because Oro has no reason not to be going, but why is Grimm attacking us? What could his possible motive be? What would he gain? What would he and Cleo gain by attacking Lightlark at all? No character asks these questions, which would be logical questions to ask, because when we get to the end and we find out the stupid reasons, like, none of the characters knew them. So why are they just like, yes, Grimm is coming to attack, this is normal, we will just prepare for the attack?
And of course, Isla's like, who will stand with me? And her people do that thing where like one person steps forward and then another person steps forward. And it's like, it doesn't actually make any sense because their population was so diminished and just a little while ago they were all starving because they didn't know how to eat anything except hearts. But now they're like, yep, we'll go to war for this bitch. We have another MacGuffin. She asks her people, like, now that Cleo is gone and took all of her healers with her, we are the primary healers for this upcoming war. Do we have enough elixir? And they're like, we're running low on the special flower, so we also need to find more of this special flower. I don't know if Isla's going to do any of this searching herself, or if this is just like another issue that the author is throwing into the mix for no reason.
It's the second one. The author just wanted to have another inflated reason for us to be stressed. It doesn't actually matter. And if you're wondering, why doesn't Isla, who has the power to grow plants, like she grew that magical tree just a little while ago, why doesn't she go to the garden where these flowers are and grow a whole bunch more of them? Isla never thinks of that. The book never thinks of that. The author clearly never thought of that. That question is never answered or addressed.
This author keeps bringing up problems that don't need to be there and making more work for herself in a book that she already cannot handle. This book has completely gotten away from her. It's like she's riding a bucking horse and she thinks that she's in control because she's holding the reins, but she's not in control. By the way, I do have an emotional support donut today. This author is definitely renowned for like creating a problem and then solving it really quickly. You all remember the giant cat that she has. And we kept being told that Lynx doesn't really like her. But now, in the space of like 4 paragraphs, she's been just sitting here chatting with Lynx, and it turns out that Lynx does like her, actually. This author doesn't know how to pace and stretch out a plot point, an emotional beat, an emotional thread. And then we cut to Isla standing in front of the weird door that she's got to figure out how to open. And we just remembered existed. Her vision flashed in front of her eyes. Her vision flashed in front of her eyes. What does that mean? No, seriously, what does it mean? Oh, okay, I had to keep reading, and at the end of the paragraph it says, Drex, that was new. She hadn't seen them in her vision before. So her vision, we were meant to understand that we were referring to the prophetic vision. That was not clear at the beginning of this, and so that sentence made 0 sense. And we cut away from her trying to open the door and having this vision, and now she's with Oro again, and she's like, yep, this time I saw those creatures called Drex, which is the silliest name for anything ever, in my vision, so that means that the Drex definitely belong to Grimm. Don't worry though, Oro has a MacGuffin for this too. She's like, how will we defeat the Drex? They're like so powerful. And Oro is like, don't worry. Since the first attack, I've had my people researching a special ore that we can use to make weapons to fight them. Conveniently, I've been doing that off page, so you don't need to worry your tiny little head about it. Oh, good! Good, Oro has more close friends that he never bothered to mention until now. Look how far through the book we are. Book 2. So she's like, who's looking for the ore? And he's like, oh, I have more friends I've never mentioned to you or even thought about mentioning to you. Let's go meet them.
I have friends, I definitely have friends. Friends, friends, friendly friends. Time to meet my friends.
What is this author's obsession with, like, the muscled arms of black men? Because when we first met Azul in the first book, she took the time to describe that he was sleeveless and had very muscular arms. And the same thing is happening here with one of Oro's friends is described as a black man who is, again, wearing no sleeves, and he's got super muscular arms. What's happening here? If I had a nickel for every time this author took the time to specifically describe a black man as being sleeveless and having nice arms, I'd have 2 nickels, but it's weird that it's happened twice. So one of Oro's friends brings up that they haven't seen Oro in a while, and they like start making excuses for why they haven't seen him. Like, the last time we were together, we called him a name and made fun of him, and that's why we haven't seen him. And I'm like, you haven't seen him because you literally didn't exist until now. At least make an excuse like Oro had his friends like hidden away for their safety or something, and now they can finally come out. But we're meant to believe that these motherfuckers have been here this whole time, and Isla has never even seen one of them. So one of them is a moonling, and she's like, I thought all the moonlings left with Cleo, and he's like, no, some of us don't like Cleo. And also, I guess Soren stayed, and everybody hates Soren. You remember Soren, the guy who's, like, got evil advisor written all over him. All these friends are bantering about how they were in school together, and, like, I don't care because I cannot imagine that these people are going to matter longer than it takes them to find this magical ore. We're having some sort of weird shoehorned in message about how, like, even though we were born different, we can all be friends, because they're like, they all turned to Isla after some of the clumsiest banter I've ever read, and they were like, and you're Nightshade, and she's like, yeah, I'm Nightshade, what of it? And they're like, well, we all come from different places, so I guess we can be friends after all. And it's like, what are we doing? Now they're talking strategy, and it's all very shallow strategy, because do we expect good old Alex asked her to be able to handle a war strategy with all of these different peoples and all of their different powers. I don't think so. But apparently, I think the Starlings are going to be trying to set up kind of a half shield around the island because, once again, if you recall, Starlings can literally create matter out of nothing. Apparently, though, Grimm is so good at, his flair of being able to teleport that he can teleport an entire army. It's nice of him to, give them a deadline of when he's gonna arrive. Even though he can, literally appear with his army anywhere he wants to, they at least know when. Isla does bring up the idea that her people can use their powers to make a lot of places really inhospitable, so that would force Grimm to, appear in one of the places that they want, so they can narrow down his choices for where to teleport his army in. So Oro finally asks his friends about the ore, the unobtainium that they've been seeking, and they say, "We're working on it, but the Forgotten Mines are tough to navigate." The Forgotten Mines. I think you mean the mines that didn't exist until this exact moment. At least they mention that they're gonna need arrows, which is a significant step above the military strategy at play in Fourth Wing. But the meeting is interrupted, all of this deep military strategy is interrupted when Azul comes running in and he says, "We have a problem." Because this author doesn't know how to end the scene, so we might as well just cut to something else. Okay, sorry about that. If the lighting has changed, I had to step away, and I stepped away for several hours. So back to reading this chapter. I think it's time at this point to just reconsider your entire worldview. Because the thing that Azul has come to announce is that his people also want to back out of the Alliance, basically. They also want to leave Lightlark. They were rather going to be counted upon as some of the people with the largest population to help fight this war that no one asked for. And at this point, with so many people eager and willing and eager to leave Lightlark, maybe we need to consider that Lightlark isn't that great. If people are so willing to leave this place that they will risk their entire nation being killed while they're gone, because if Oro and Lightlark die, they all die. Maybe it is time to leave Lightlark. Do we need it? Could we just fucking go? Why is this island so just magically important that it keeps everyone alive? Let's start asking some very deep questions here. It is important that we understand that this is not Azul's fault. He wants to stay and fight. It's his people who want to leave. And of course, since he's the only one with a democracy, they're gonna probably do that. Oh good, something else that happened off page. They're talking about what they're gonna do now that Skylings are probably gonna back out. And Zed, who's totally been here the whole time, says, "Calder and I already went to the corners of Lightlark, gathering all the outside communities." There were outside communities? And most have already agreed to fight. Why would they fight? If they were outside communities, what stake would they possibly have in this? Did you press gang them? What is going on? But luckily we did that off page, so we don't need to worry about that.
Who or what these outside communities are never comes up again. We never see them again. We never see them in the first place. It doesn't matter.
So Isla has the bright idea that she should go, somebody should, probably her, go speak to the cannibalistic people that we remember from book 1, who she killed a bunch of them. So I don't know if they're going to be real inclined to like her, but they used to be her people until Wildlings abandoned Lightlark. And then they turned into insane cannibals or something? Or maybe they're not insane. She did just kind of kill them without asking any questions. But she's like, let's get those guys on our side. Those sound like perfect allies, don't they? Oro reminds her that it was one of these people that shot her in the previous book, but let's be fair, she was killing them. This author really likes characters to shrug with only one shoulder, and I don't know why, but very specifically, anytime a character shrugs, it's only one shoulder. Is that what all the cool kids do now? Is it uncool to shrug with both shoulders these days? Isla is also like, what I need to do is make allies out of a bunch of other dark creatures that they met during the Centennial, so Bugman, and maybe that ghost that she met, and maybe that weird fish girl that she met. Are we gonna go around just trying to befriend angry magical creatures that didn't have personalities before now?
Get used to disappointment.
And we skip to, again, a little just paragraph that's all telling. It's just telling us stuff that's happening off page because, again, this author has bitten off way more than she can chew with this book. With Skyling likely gone, Isla's memories became more important than ever. She trained with Remlar any chance she could, and he taught her how to use her shadows. That's like a synopsis of this book. That's not like something you included in an actual chapter. So Isla's training with Bugman, and he's like, here's a really cool, really old tree, and I need you to kill it. And she's like, no, I won't kill a tree. I killed people, yes, but those were bad people. And I really wanted him to be like, well, this is a bad tree. This tree's an asshole. So Bugman reassures her that even if she kills the tree, because of her, like, dual nature, she will create something else. So he's like, kill the tree and create something else, if that makes you feel better. And it does, so she's gonna go for it. Please tell me she kills Grimm and turns him into a flower. I want that. Oh, of course. Oh my god. We cannot forget for a second what a special girl she is. She kills the tree and then, like, explodes life force out of herself, and a bunch of new trees and flowers and saplings all grow. This is the first time this has happened. She's killed other things before with her magic accidentally, and this didn't happen, so I don't know, special training. Bugman comes over and he's like, I was right, wildling. You are the only person living who is able to turn death into life. I mean, never mind the fact that when she kills something, like she kills an individual, a thing that cannot just be replaced with something new. Like that tree, that specific tree is gone forever now. That tree is dead. It doesn't matter how many saplings you make, you have still killed that tree. So I don't know if this argument is better. It'd be like, oh, I killed thousands of people, but I made a bunch of babies. Like, that's not better. I'm imagining she's gonna get some kind of resurrection powers later because of this. Like, very, very Rey from Star Wars coded. But anyway, I am going to start making myself some dinner and then probably continue to make bad choices and read more of this book. You'll see more of me in this darkened room as the sun slowly sets into the early darkness of winter. Hooray!
Oh hey, it's me, Julian, here to tell you that there's never been a better time to join me over on my Patreon, because we cannot go into the past, and it is not yet the future, so there's literally never been a better time, right? Listen, I'm trying to make sense of all of this goofy back and forth time logic that's going on in this book. But while we do that, why don't you join me over on Patreon, where you get exclusive content not seen here on the regular channel, your vote counts for 2 every time we're picking out a new read-along book, and you get to help me with stuff to do with my book, like helping me pick out covers, you get special like sneak peeks at upcoming books, character art, all kinds of fun stuff that nobody else gets to see until the book is released. So if you're interested in my writing process and want to keep up to date with what the heck I'm doing, you can hop over there. Plus, we have a little bitty Discord group where we can talk about writing and bookish things. So come check us out for as little as $1 a month over on Patreon. Or if you don't like Patreon and you just want to support me one time, I have a Ko-fi for that.
Alright, my dinner is in the oven. Let's go. Let's keep plowing through this book. We're back to a before chapter with memories of good old Grimm. Here's an example of a time that you don't need she said. So the line is, Isla glared at him. You know you asked to work with me, she said. We don't need the she said. She said only functions to tell us who was speaking. We already know who was speaking because it began with Isla glared at him. Isla is the one doing an action, so Isla will be the one speaking. Remember that she said, he said, they said is only necessary to identify the speaker. That is all it does. So if you have already got your speaker identified, you don't need it. You can cut it out and cut some words for free. She's like, he clearly hates me. Why, oh, why could he hate me? Is it because I stabbed him the first time we met? I mean, that's a good guess. I don't tend to love people who stab me. The author is trying really, really hard for a hate-to-love relationship, but because she lacks anything approaching like a style, it's just the characters thinking or saying to each other, I hate you. Well, I hate you. Every now and then Violet will wonder something, but then never go any further with that thought. Like, she wonders why Grimm needs her help if he's so powerful. But then she just goes, okay, and then, like, literally takes his hand in the next line and teleports out with him. It's like maybe you should follow some of these thoughts through and see where that takes you. The cats have started wreaking havoc because they think it's dinner time, which it will be shortly, but not quite yet. What does that look like? I love these descriptions. They're so vague. They landed on the edge of a cliffside made up of lustrous black rocks crudely puzzled together. The rocks are crudely puzzled together. Are they shaped like puzzle pieces? This is a cliffside, so presumably it's part of the land. So how does the rocks get puzzled? I'm so confused. We have instantly and then immediately used in 2 lines back to back, and we don't need either of them. Remember that you don't need words like instantly, immediately, suddenly. If the thing that's happening is the very next thing that happens on the page, you don't need to add that. And you can save it for when you really actually need it. Most of the time, it is completely unnecessary. Like, don't worry too much about this when you're drafting. Let yourself make all the mistakes when you're drafting, it's fine. But as you're going through and editing, if you want to get rid of these words, try the sentence without them. And if the meaning of the sentence is completely the same, sometimes even better without it, just ditch it. If you're like, no, this sentence makes less sense or is less impactful without this word, then keep it. So they're not going to search for the sword right away. They have to visit the blacksmith, quote unquote, first, which means they have to climb up this rock cliff because I guess they were at the top but not at the top. So they have to climb this rock cliff, and the rocks are very sharp, and he just tells her, don't cut yourself, but he doesn't tell her why. But now they're climbing, now they're free soloing up the side of a weird cliff in the rain. Presumably, since I've not been told otherwise, he's wearing full armor and a cape. Also, at this point in the story, she's supposed to be afraid of heights. Like, she doesn't get over her fear of heights until very recently in the actual timeline. But she's climbing this cliff, no problem. She, of course, immediately cuts herself, but who cares? She's a badass. Why be so vague when you could very obviously give examples? Her mind was running wild with fear and 1,000 stressful scenarios that hadn't happened yet. Well, she's hanging on the side of a cliff, so I feel like that's already a pretty stressful scenario, but like, what are the scenarios? Why won't you tell us? Is she worried about falling and being stabbed to death on the sharp rocks below? Is she worried about falling and drowning? Is she worried about cutting herself so bad that she bleeds so much that she passes out and falls off of this? Like, why can't we be specific? And in fact, we should be specific. Look for places where you can be specific in your book, because that's going to make your reader feel like they're actually in the moment with the character, instead of completely removed and like watching this character from a distance with absolutely no concern for what happens to them. Oh, finally we get told that Grimm is not wearing his armor. Okay, that might have been good to know before he was climbing the cliff, but I guess he's not wearing armor. No indication of what he is wearing, but not armor. Okay, he is wearing a cape. So he was climbing the cliff with a cape. So they approach the blacksmith's hut, and as they get closer, Grimm turns to Isla and he's like, oh shit, he's gonna kill you. And then he buggers off. Because I guess the blacksmith can smell your blood if you cut yourself on the cliff. Would have been nice to be warned about that, Grimm. That could have been helpful information. But he fucking leaves without telling her what's gonna happen or what she should do. So she just runs, and apparently there's a forest, so she runs for that. She's running through the woods. Whatever is pursuing her, presumably the blacksmith, is now shooting at her with arrows. The forest dipped low and she lost her footing. The forest dipped low. Again, another one of those moments where I'm like, what am I picturing? You mean the terrain, like when it moved downward, like it inclined? Or like the forest itself, a sentient being, moved out from under her? Like what? I think this author has legitimately gotten worse from book 1 to book 2. That's really sad. That makes me so sad, because we would hope that she would improve. Like, I can see her trying to take on board people's notes about plot points that don't make any sense, but one thing she's not been able to do is get any better at the craft. And honestly, I've talked about this before with Meg Latour's book, The Cyborg Tinkerer, and there are some people who are perhaps quote-unquote naturals at writing. For them, the craft of writing comes more easily. I'm not one of those people. I've spent much of my life improving my craft and improving my craft. Like, one of my main focuses for a very long time in my writing career, and it continues to be, is craft. And that took a long, long time. Like, many, many years and many, many books to get to the level that I'm at now, which I will say I think is pretty good. Like, people praise my craft even if they didn't like the book. So I think I'm doing okay. But this author is not a natural. Her craft is so young reading. It reads like a teenager's very first attempts. And I'm not saying that to be mean, I'm just saying that to be factual. Her craft is deeply flawed, and she needs mentors, and she needs practice, and she needs time. She needs to not be published right now. This should not be published. This is kind of, quite frankly, embarrassing that this was published in the state that it is in. She needs to go to, I know she like went to college for writing, but did she not do any critiques? Like, what were they doing? Did no one talk to her about her prose? And I mean, prose is a very personal thing, and like that's something that I feel like maybe is difficult to improve with the help of others. Like story and plot and stuff like that, other people can help you improve, but prose is a lot harder. You really have to understand where your deficits are and actively work to improve on it over time. So going to school for writing is not necessarily going to help fix your prose, and it's neither is necessarily doing critique groups, because sometimes people just can't tell you how to fix your prose. Like, honestly, what I would say to her is you need a lot more practice, and you need to read some authors that you would like to write like, and really study them and see what they're doing on a prose level. I would be very surprised if this author read critically on a prose level at this point yet. I don't think she recognizes issues with her prose yet. And she's young, she's still got time to learn, she's still got time to grow, but she should not be published. She should continue to do the work until she's got books that are better, quite frankly. And again, this sounds really mean. It sounds so mean. And it's like, well, you're awfully judgmental, Julian, for somebody who's only self-published. And it's like, yeah, you're right. I am self-published. I'm not traditionally published, and she is. But I can also tell that her prose are super novice. I'm sorry, there's no two ways about it. So Violet trips down this, apparently it's a hill, and she crashes into a bunch of stuff and comes to a stop at a tree, and she's all injured. The blacksmith crouches over her. We get zero description of what he looks like, but she stabs him in the eye. My pizza might be done though. Excuse me, Nigel. I know you just got very comfortable on Mommy's lap, but I need to go check on my food. All right, I gotta let my pizza cool before I eat it, but it is ready. So she stabbed the blacksmith, and she then just starts limping away. Which direction, we don't know. Deeper into the woods, back out of the woods, completely unclear. She limped forward. Not helpful at all. But eventually, or not eventually, it seems like it happens right away, she sees a fence with a gate. Is it in the woods? Is it outside the woods? We don't know. The blacksmith is seemingly undeterred by having been stabbed in the eye, because he's still shooting arrows at her, and they are narrowly missing. So I think his aim has actually gotten better since she stabbed him in the eye. Once she gets through the gate and closes it behind her, she realizes that the gate is made of skulls. What is happening? What's going on? Where are we? I feel like I'm reading somebody's dream. The blacksmith has caught up to her, and he just ripped the skull gate off its hinges, and now finally we get him described. And it turns out he's just like a really muscular guy holding a hammer, even though he was shooting a bow at her. Is the hammer also a bow? I don't know, I don't care. Fortunately, Grimm has decided to re-emerge. I don't know why he left in the first place, and I don't know why he came back. So Grimm just like, why did Grimm fucking leave? Grimm seemed like he was like upset about this or nervous about this guy. But the second the blacksmith sees him, the blacksmith is like, "Oh, my lord," and bows. And Grimm immediately gets down to business. And I'm like, why the fuck did Grimm run away before? Like, he was afraid of this dude. Immediately, Grimm is like, "Here's the sword I'm looking for," and the blacksmith is like, "Ah, yes." Why the fuck any of this? Somehow, through the smell of her blood, the blacksmith can tell that Isla has the power to help Grimm find the sword. This is all so nonsensical. Like, I thought the previous book was nonsensical, but I swear the author is just throwing darts at a board where random plot points are written down. Once again, Isla asks questions in her head that she will never ask out loud, nor will we ever get answers to. It's almost like the author pointing out her own, like, plot holes, and then never bothering to fill them. She just likes to point them out. The conversation is over now, and the blacksmith just goes back to his forge. Why did we have this entire sequence of running through the forest and she stabbed him in the eye? Couldn't they have just gone into his forge and had this conversation and then carried on? If Grimm needed the blacksmith to smell her blood to know if she could find the MacGuffin sword, why did he tell her not to get cut? And again, why did he run off? She asks him why, same question I'm asking, and he's like, I was just curious what you'd do. Cut that whole sequence. The only reason that I can think that that sequence existed is that so now we can have like this hurt comfort moment where Grimm like pops her shoulder back into the socket and like treats the injuries she got from running from this guy. Find a different reason for her to be injured. She's like, I want to go home. I have owies. And Grimm is like, cool. And then he takes her back to her room where he's like leaking shadow everywhere. She tells him to stop, and the shadow acts offended. I'm only bringing that up because maybe that's going to be a plot point later, that his shadows are like a separate entity from himself, and maybe they're controlling him or something. Otherwise, I think that was just a dumb little feature that the author decided to mention.
As I'm sure any canny viewer can surmise, it was not a plot point. It was just a dumb thing the author thought would be cute.
He calls her a witch, which brings up the question of, what are witches in this world? What does that mean to be a witch? No idea.
Well, she turned me into a newt.
Oh, conveniently, in their search, Grimm can't use his powers because I guess the sword avoids people who are using their nightling powers, nightshade powers. Now we get the hint that Grimm can take people's memories away. We gotta get that in because we gotta understand that he took her memories away later. He just has so many powers. But she's like, won't the blacksmith be angry that we're looking for the sword? Even though, like, the blacksmith seemed fine with it in the interaction that we had. But Grimm is like, nah, I erased his memory. Isla asks more questions we will never get answers to. So, yeah, they just reaffirm that they're gonna find the sword together, and Isla asks him, who are the best thieves on Nightshade? So either they want to find the thieves to help them find the sword, or she thinks that one of them stole the sword. Unclear. But that's the end of that chapter. This is a mess. Like, it was messy before, but it's only getting messier. Like, the scenes with Grimm in the past, I am honestly shocked at how messy this is. Like, I thought that it was as messy as it could get, and then this chapter happened. Wow. Alright. See you for the next chapter. Alright, we're back for one more chapter, and then I might be done for the night, or I might take a break and see if I have enough brain cells. Oof. Alright, well, I mean, the problem with Fourth Wing is that it was really boring. Being nonsensical and dreamlike is different from boring. This chapter is called Premonition. It's not super long, so we can survive this together. I know the thing that I really wanted to see when all of these different nations finally got to get their magic back and be themselves was them preparing for war. You know what I thought? Gosh, I wonder how these different nations prepare for war.
Sarcasm? You think?
Once again, Isla is having to do 0% of the work. It's all just like these other people, like Marin. I forget who Marin is, but she's doing a lot of work. As is Enya. You remember Enya, Oro's best friend who's totally been here the whole time, just believe us. They're just handling things. So Isla never has to worry about anything going wrong. She can just focus on, I honestly don't know what she's focusing on. Having memories about Grimm. Really weird, nonsensical memories about Grimm. So Marin's being weirdly cagey. Marin is this darling who's like in charge of Star Isle for Isla. Isla's like, hey, who are your most powerful magic users? And Marin is being really weird about it and being like, I don't want you to know. Can it be like anonymous who is doing what magic? And Isla's like, no, take me to your best magic users. So they go to where the best magic user is, and she's standing in like a bunch of craters, and she's just literally creating life. Oh, that reminds me. Oh, we gotta fill out some stuff on the bingo card. Thank goodness I said that. Definitely giving Isla is even more special somehow because she can kill and create at the same time, or back to back. I'm also giving this Isla has more skills from her past training for that scene with Grimm where she's actually always been good at rock climbing. Isla still has not had to deal with any actual ruling, but again, wait longer for that one. I don't know if I should give it, do you think your reader is dumb? Because honestly, I don't know who would understand this book at all. It's so badly written that I don't think we can even give it that one. I'm gonna give it right away, side characters never get more personality, because not only do we not flesh out the ones that we already had, in fact we've kind of forgotten about them, but we get a whole bunch of new ones that don't have personalities, and we also have a bingo. So we have a bingo with side characters never get more personality. Isla is even more special somehow. Isla gets a bunch of new abilities to retconning, so that one's crossed off. Isla has more skills from her past training and more random MacGuffins. And we're very close in a couple of other spots already, and we're halfway through the book, so woo! Anyway, so they come across this person who is creating just like creatures. It's Cinder, whoever Cinder was. I don't know, it was a character that we met. I remember the name Cinder. Isla is amazed that it is Cinder who is just sitting in this crater and creating light creatures. I don't know what she's doing. She's wielding her power really well, don't ask questions. Okay, Cinder was the little girl from before, I guess. And it's amazing that she's so good. And Isla just like marches up and is like, "Who is your teacher?" And the little girl is like, "Teacher?" So we have another special girl. Is Isla feeling threatened? Marin shrugs one shoulder, because these characters never shrug with both shoulders. That is not allowed. So it turns out Cinder has always just been really, really powerful and really, really good at using her abilities. I bet you Isla is feeling threatened. What if she's not the specialist of special girls anymore?
I'm calling it now. This is Celeste's daughter. It doesn't come up in this book at all who this kid is or why she's so powerful, but I'm calling it. So she is actually the rightful ruler of Star Isle, not Isla. I'm assuming that's going to be a book 3 thing. Or maybe book 3 will go in a completely different direction and this kid is pointless. You never can tell with Alex Astor. It could go any direction.
Cinder is like shading Isla. She's not doing it on purpose, but I'm laughing. Because Cinder is like, "Why can't you, like, just create an animal? I want you to create an animal, like I have been." And Isla's like, "Oh, I can't do that." And Cinder's like, "Why? Is using your powers hard for you? That's weird." And I'm like, yes, the shade. So for some reason, Marin is like, nobody can know that this child is really, really powerful. She will still be participating in creating the giant shield bubble, but she'll be doing it, like, from a hidden position. Isla, though, we time jump again, and Isla is now telling Oro about the kid immediately. She does not keep that to herself. She tells Oro about Cinder, and then she just kind of like collapses and has another vision about Grimm coming to murder them all. And she's most upset by this vision because in it, Grimm kills her. And so like, it makes her sound extremely selfish because she's like, well, in all of the other visions, I saw all of the death and destruction that he brought. But in this one, he kills me. Me! The most important person that was, or ever will be. That's the most sad part. Also, again, how does she know that these are actual prophecies that she's having? Why does she assume that her dreams are automatically prophetic? I don't know. Are nightshades known for their prophetic dreams? Are wildlings? Is Oro? Like, if it was said, I don't remember it. They just assume that these visions are for sure 100% gonna come true. And I'm like, I would like to see some proof of that, please, but okay. The next chapter is another flashback chapter, and I am going to go ahead and do something else for a while. Maybe I'll get back to this tonight, maybe I won't, but I need a break. My brain is melting. Hi, hello, it's late at night, and I have time for one chapter before I have to go shower and get ready for bed. I don't really like to be filming and putting out videos at the same time, but also I do want YouTube's AdSense money for the holiday season. I just had a thought though. In the first book, Isla asked Oro, if you hate Grimm so much, why don't you just kill him? And Oro said, no, I can't because Grimm is keeping some great enemy at bay. Like whatever Grimm is keeping at bay is worse than him. And that has not been mentioned once. In this book, did the mystery enemy just die? You know, after the curses? What happened? Alright, we are back in the past, once again, before. This is giving me flashbacks to the first book. In the first book, she was helping Oro seek the heart, and now we have just done a flip, and she's helping Grimm seek the mystery sword. Like, her entire life is just looking for objects for other people. So Grimm shows up in her room. She got in trouble with her caretakers for having sprained her ankle, and it says that they trained her harder in the other things that didn't require her to walk, But again, we're given no detail. This author is like allergic to detail. She just like gives us an overview of everything. So for some reason, Grimm needed her help to come up with this. The blacksmith said that the sword was stolen, and therefore Isla had the idea that thieves may have stolen it. Imagine that. And so they're going to go look into the like best thieves on Grimm's Island. Like, oh, thank goodness he brought Isla along, master detective that she is. Thieves may have stolen something. Yes, yes. So now it is nighttime when they are going to this like fishing village to find this gang of thieves. This infamous group of thieves is what she calls it, I think. A notorious thieving group. I feel like mine was better. But she's like, how can you be outside at night, Grimm? Like, what about your curse, yo? And he's like, actually, I just have a magical MacGuffin that I just wear that makes the curse not affect me. Fucking give that to everybody else, my guy. I'm assuming that he got it from Celeste, who is a Starling, and her people, the Starling people, are like dying at 25. And she gave what I presume must be her only one of these to Grimm. Now I'm betting that this only exists because the author realized how like silly it is to have them doing these like creepy clandestine things in the broad ass daylight. And so she was like, Grimm has a magical necklace that makes it so he can go out in the nighttime. Don't ask questions. Again, we're just told everything like after the fact. Grimm can't portal to where the thieves are because if he goes there and the sword is there, it will sense him and like bugger off, I guess. But Isla's like, well, why don't I use my portal? And he's just like, nope. But we don't get to see that conversation. We're just told Isla had asked if she could use her portal and he said no. Why don't we get to see that conversation? Why not? Why are you telling us everything that happened instead of letting us see anything happen? Ooh, we have our very first Isla describing something as food. She describes the moon as a pastry crescent, which, shouldn't she describe it as an egg? Since in the first book it claims that she often thought of the moon as an egg. But it's a crescent moon right now, so it's a pastry crescent. But look how far we are in this book before she described anything as food. And this is her past self, so maybe we're trying to say that she just, after the curse was lifted, she just got over describing things as food. It's just not a thing she does anymore. But also, I've noticed a trend with the way this author describes things. She uses very short sentences most of the time, and it's always this was, that was. So for example, the ocean was dark as ink around them. The moon was a pastry crescent. And you can do that occasionally, in my opinion, but this author does it constantly. That's really the only way that she describes things anymore. And I think she was better about it in the first book. Like, maybe not amazing, but definitely not to this level. Where, like, whenever Isla goes somewhere new and we have to have everything described, she just goes, this was this, and that was that, and that looked like that. And as much as you can, you want to tie descriptions to character. So instead of being like the moon was a pastry crescent, you could say Isla leaned back in the boat and gazed at the sky where the moon hung like a pastry crescent. Tie it to what she is doing. Through that we can kind of get her feeling as well because, oh, she's leaning back, she's lounging, she's looking at the moon. She thinks it's a pastry crescent. That's a little whimsical. You can do a lot of stuff with that. So like tie descriptions to character whenever possible. So Isla is in the boat with her hot enemy at this point, and the burning question that she wants to ask him is, how does he stay so muscular and hot if his power is to portal everywhere and there's no war? So why is he keeping fit? This is a very important question. Now that could come, you could use this could come from Isla and her naivety about powers and her feeling like she's less than for not having powers. Like maybe she looks at him and she thinks, if I had powers, I'd never do this kind of work. If I had powers, I would not have to train as hard as I train. So why does he choose to? But it doesn't come from anywhere like that. She's looking at his hot muscles. And she's like, why do you keep up your physique? I don't feel like a lot of thought was put into this book. Sunlings, during the day, they had to cover their windows so that, like, the sunlight wouldn't come in, because they would get burned by the sun. But for some reason, the nightshades have to cover their windows at night. But, like, is it the moon? Because they're not moonlings. Moonlings is something separate. So is it the moonlight that they're trying to keep out? Because then you'd think they wouldn't even need to do this. when there's a new moon? Or is it something else? Are they just trying to keep out the nighttime? Alright, they found the thieves' hideout, which is just a regular building, but all of the windows are blocked off, and then Grimm briefs her on the very intricate plan. We look for the sword. If we don't find it, we get information. Wow, thank you so much, master strategist here, everyone. The thieves, like, this is the hideout of a bunch of master thieves, and their window isn't even locked. So basically, the inside of this thieves' hideout is the interior of every building in Dragon Age 2. You know what I'm talking about. Like the Chiefside buildings, they all kind of had the same layout. Again, everything is so plain. One looked like a kitchen, one had a few tables. The walls were stone. Wind whistled through large cracks. It was freezing. Like, let me just... As Isla crept through a kitchen, a breeze through the cracks in the stone walls caught her and made her shiver. Like, is that perfect? No, but I just came up with that off the top of my head, and it connects to a character and their activities. Of course, a thief finds her, and he tries to, like, grab her, but her training kicks in, and she, like, bests him and then stabs him many times. Like, she just, triple tap, quadruple tap. He looks surprised to see blood puddling next to him. These lines are so absurd sometimes. But where there's one thief, there's more thieves, and now they're all attacking her. The next man struck, and Isla raced to defend from both sides. I don't think that makes sense. When you think of a character as racing to do something, they're like moving, they're running. But I think what we're saying is she's just being very quick. Like defending here, to block here, block here, block here. I wouldn't call that racing to defend from both sides. I'd call that something else. I'd call that swiftly blocking on both sides, or struggled to block on both sides, or something. But racing? So Isla hits one of them with some throwing stars that she had in a hidden pocket, because of course she does, and he falls forward and impales himself on his own sword. Isla has like the tiniest, miniest of existential crises. She had just killed her first person that she knew of. Should she feel guilty? He had been attacking her, but she was invading his home. I'm sure this is all we're gonna get, is this moment of like, oh, I killed a man. And of course these thieves are creepy and rapey, so they hit her on the head and she falls to the floor, and then one of them is immediately being like, I can't wait to use you for my own devices. I think I'll keep you. It's sad to me that Nightbane is the book that's going for the sexual assault tropes when Fourth Wing didn't even have any. Now, I'm not saying you should never use it as a threat to your female character. I am saying that a lot of times it is lazy. So Isla decides she has to continue to defend herself because Grimm isn't coming, and she like leaps up and she shoves this guy and shoves him back until they hit a window. The walls are stone, but there are still lots of windows. I don't really actually know what this house truly looks like. But anyway, she shoves him out a window and they go flying out the window, and he immediately turns to ash. Like the moment he hits nighttime, he turns to ash and she breathes some of it in. Like this author likes to add just every now and then these weird creepy details, like that the human skin gloves need to come from a human who is still alive, or she just breathed in some dead guy ash. I feel like she wants to write horror books, but like is too afraid to. But now that she has saved herself, Grimm shows up and I guess subdues the rest of the attackers, or maybe she did that. This fight was really difficult to follow. It's very poorly written. And now Grimm is here and he wipes dead guy Ash off of her with a curtain, and he's like, also, I have this prisoner and I've been demanding to know where the sword is and he hasn't been answering. Grimm decides to use torture because we all know that torture is the most effective way of getting actual answers out of people. So he cuts off the man's hand, and of course the man immediately blabs. The guy says that yes, they stole the sword, but one of their people took it and buggered off. His name is Victor, and he's hiding out in Cretan's Crag. And so Grimm is like, thanks, and then slits his throat. Isla's upset about that, and then Grimm gives her kind of a fatherly sounding lecture, like fatherly like a bad dad. But he's just like, listen here, young lady, you don't know the first thing about my people or your people. He just talks to her like she's a child, which to him she basically is, but that's not very romantic. So this accomplished, they portal back to her room, because I guess they don't want to go to Cretan's Crag right away. Maybe because Isla is so upset. Grimm is like, we'll do it later. So he's like, we'll do that in 2 weeks. again, this is now it's following the beats of Lightlark, because in that book the author was trying to take up as much time as possible because she had 100 days to fill. So the characters were always being like, okay, we've done one thing, let's wait several weeks before we do the next thing. When I feel like they could probably go to Cretan's Crag right now, but no, we're gonna do that later. And then he leaves, and we have the next chapter, which is called "I Will Not Die Today." Okay. I'll see you then, but for now, I'm going to bed. Bye.
Shun the non-believer! Shun!
But you know who's not a non-believer? My patrons, and also Nigel, who is here on my lap while I'm trying to record this. But who are my patrons? Let's go in reverse order this time. Sarah, Lisa, Amanda, Jenny, Savvy, Scribbling Cat, Rennie, Jesper, Zaire, Shelby, Ray, Callison, Anne Sophie, Patrick, Belle, The Unraveled Legion, Light Julie, Hidden Glade, Kit, Maureen, Sophia, Ashley, Swamp Goblin Waifu, Melissa, Afra, Deborah, Rita, Alyssa, Celia, Amanda, LaFone, KJ, Caitlin, Ursula, Robin, Jojo Bookish, Bear, Kirsten, Maria, Mooney, Kohikaro, Kira, Sam, Haley, Julius the Nice Dragon, Pansing Pony, Roma, Ingrid, Veda, 78 kilograms of shade, Kat, Sarah, Saga, Nico, Sunny Shy, Bird Anonymous, July, Martha Baggins, SB Boots. All these people, they are the true believers. Would you like to say anything, Nigel? Get in, everyone. We're going to Candy Mountain.